Don't forget to click that subscribe and bell icon to receive a notification each time I upload a new video. Hi everyone, it's Mike here. So today I thought I would have a little play in my new pocket-sized journal, and I've got just a single sheet rather than a double page spread, which is what I originally put in for this journal. I thought I would just have a play because I haven't really got a huge amount of time today. I thought I would have a play just on the single side, and I've also got some images that I purchased a while ago that I'd printed out and cut out, and they've just been sitting and hanging around for a little bit of a while, so I thought I would have a wee play with those as well on the journal page. I've pulled out some colours which I think are kind of nice and bright. I'm going to play with those and use some of the texture from the new stencils for August, which are going on sale next week from Monday, and I'm also going to use one of the stamps from the new Journal Words stamp set. So that's set number 1, which has all those on it, and set number 2, which has those as well. I think I'm going to use the word friendship on this one, which is why I've already taken it out of the bag really. So that is kind of going to be what I'm going to do today. So it's just going to be a process video, kind of just building up and doing some layers today. So I'm not going to do a huge amount of anything spectacular. I've got some book text, I've got stencils, I've got stamps, I've got some paints here. So it's just going to be one of those just gradual kind of build up of images and build up of layers, and see what kind of texture we can get, and then integrate those collage items into the background. So that's where I'm going to be going with this one. So let me just, first of all, I've got some brushes here. I've been sitting in a little bit of water. Okay, so I'm going to just tear up some of this old book text. Don't want that piece at the bottom. So this is just from an old, I think it's a copy of Journey to the Centre of the Earth, to be honest. I'm not really sure. And I'm just going to grab maybe 3 little pieces like that. It's just going to have this in the background. I've got some matte medium. So this is from Indigo Blue. It's called Slap It On, because that's what you do. You make sure you get loads and slap it on. But I'm not going to put a huge amount on because it doesn't really need it. So I'm just going to add some of that, quickly run over the back, and then just lay it down. And then a little bit over the top. So it's not a big piece, so you're not really going to get many bubbles or anything like that in it, or creases. You shouldn't really get many at all, with it only being a small piece of paper. So only when you've got larger images that you're actually in danger of doing that or getting that. And then just a little bit over the top just to seal it in. And then one more piece just down here towards the bottom. Just take up that little bit that's on the mat. Flip it over and then just stick that down. And it doesn't matter if it goes over a little bit, over the edge, because you can always trim it. Or, if the mood takes you, don't trim it. There we go. Just want a tiny bit more. Just to seal that little end in. That's it. The paper that I'm using is from I can't remember the make. Oh, let me see if I can find the pad. I didn't put it away. There we go. So Daler Rowney. It's Daler Rowney it says £169, 250 GSM, and it's mixed media paper. And it's cut at 5.5 by 7, so that's the size that we've got. Okay, so I'll just dry that off, clean this up, and I'll be right back. So that's dry, but that book text, although I've just stuck it down, it's just a little bit in your face, so I just want to knock it back a little bit. So for that, I've got some white gesso, again indigo blue, gesso good. I'm just going to take a little, and I'm just going to go over the page just with left and right brush stroke, just up and down. Now, although it looks as though I'm painting over the whole thing, the thing with gesso, if you're new to it, is that when it dries, it will dry and let some of that show back through again. And that's all we need. Don't need a huge amount. It also will help any further layers of colour to bond with the surface, because that's what gesso does. It gives you a ground, a tooth for other colours. It also allows you to be able to work colours as well, which I'll show you in a second. Okay, so the gesso is now nice and dry. You can see where it's kind of knocked it back into that background a little bit. Not quite so stark, it's kind of helped to pull it backwards. So I'm going to apply my first colour. So I've got indigo blue, townhouse teal. Love this colour, love it loads. I'll just give it a shake up. That's going to deposit a little bit onto the underside of the lid. That's going to be just enough for me to do what I want to. So I'm just going to, again, just use left and right brush strokes. I'm not going really heavy, just allowing the strokes of the brush to catch. Now then, if I hadn't have put the gesso on there, the chances are that the paint would have grabbed instantaneously and just soaked straight in, and that's not really what I wanted. I wanted to be able to manoeuvre it a little bit. There we go. So again, just quickly wash that little bit of paint off, dry my brush, put the blue to one side, and I'm going to pull out the next colour, which is lime marmalade, again from indigo blue. So shake it up, grab a little bit from the lid, and this time just turn it round, and I'm going to start working from the opposite side. And then just bring that in a little bit over, and that just helps to kind of blend those colours together. Now if I go too hard, I can always grab the blue again and then just take that a little bit further in. Because there's not a lot on the brush, I can then just quickly grab a little more of the green . Just go backwards and forwards. There we go. And I've got a really nice kind of ombre effect in the background. And that is just with a couple of colours and a little bit of gesso. So I can put those two to one side. And again, I'll get this dried, I'll get this cleaned off, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so those colours are now nice and dry. You can see there's a nice kind of graduation between the two colours. We've got the overlap in the middle, which is fine because we're going to have a little bit of play with some collage in a little while in that one. But before we go too far, I want to introduce some more of that white back into the foreground of the of my layers next. And again, I'm just going to use the indigo blue white gesso that we used previously, and I've just shook it up so I've got a little bit on my lid there, and I have a cosmetic sponge, and I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that white gesso and just work it into that cosmetic sponge. So I'm loading up the sponge with the paint, and I think I'm going to use the Floristrella stencil for this one, and I'm going to just lay that down in the top kind of left hand corner of the page, and I'm just going to very gently just pounce up and down and then we'll just lift that off. So we've got a nice bit of patterning just happening, bringing that that white back into it again. I'm also going to add just a little bit on this side, just along the edge. It also helps to break up the hard edge of your page. And if you concentrate a little bit more of a bite towards the edge of the pattern or the edge of your page, it just kind of break that up a little bit, and I can see it's starting to fade into the background. It's disappearing a little bit, which is great because it doesn't want to be too prominent. Just pick up a little bit more of that paint, and then we'll start again towards the bottom, and then just bring and then just pounce up and down just very gently. Each pounce just adds a little bit of extra layer, and of course you can always wait for it to dry and then come back and lay your stencil back over the top again and add another layer if you want it a little bit more prominent, but that's fine for me. It's all I need. Again, I'm going to just let that dry, clear this up, and then I'll be back. Okay, so the white gesso has now dried. You can see that it has gone back a little bit, so it's not, again, it's not very prominent. I keep using the words in your face. Doesn't pop out too much, which is fine. It's kind of subtle, which is just lovely. So I think now we're just at the stage where we can now begin to start bringing in our little focal images and then start sticking those down, and then we can add some more detail over the top. Now I've printed these off on this is sticker paper, but again you can just print these off on normal paper and then just go over the top with your matte medium or even your gloss medium if you like a shiny finish, which I don't particularly, but and I'm just going to line that up about there, just using that bottom piece of book text just as kind of a ground, so it's not just stuck there in the middle of nowhere, it's not floating, it's actually got that kind of grounds it into position. So on the next one I've got my little fairy. So again, this is from an Etsy store that I got a while ago, and again I'll put a link to it on the screen now so you can pause if you want to. That way you can then write it down and go and visit if you so wish. So I'm going to stand her just on top. So again, because I've positioned that book text there, we've now got it at the bottom and kind of balancing towards the top. And then I've got a second little ballerina fairy in yellow. And I'll just take the back from that. I can see where the crack in the back is. There it is. I've just got to be careful removing it because I've already cut the image out. I don't want it to catch and damage the rest of the image. There we go. Just makes it a little bit easier. And then I'm going to just put her just where we put that little bit of stenciling earlier on. Again, that's just going to help just to ground her a little bit, just like that. So we're kind of like creating a little bit of a scene out of those little collage elements, and we've integrated into the background a little bit of detail, so it almost gives it a kind of scene that looks as though you're looking through into the background and you've got like a sky, and then the foreground here at the bottom. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is just to integrate a little bit of this darker kind of orangey colour here into the pattern somewhere. So to do that, I'm going to use one of the other stencils for August. This is the quatrefoil. Again, that kind of North African, Middle Eastern kind of pattern, that kind of Moorish pattern that you find in like Morocco and that kind of thing. But obviously not just exclusive to those countries, because they did get about a bit. Did the Moors. And we'll just add a little bit. Now this is the indigo blue burning bonfire orange. So burning bonfire. Now this is a little bit translucent. It's not as matte as the others, so it's not going to be quite as heavy. So it's only going to be a subtle kind of colour. But I'm just going to introduce a little bit of overlapping texture right towards the top. I'll just go real light, and I'm just going to do a little bit towards the top. Just very, very gentle motions with the sponge. Lift that up, and again we'll do some just down here in the corner. And I'll just overlap a little bit onto that collage item, which does help to kind of integrate it into the pattern. And we'll do one more little piece over here, out there. And I'm going really, really lightly. Don't want to go too heavy. So we've got a little bit of patterning, a little bit of texture, and as you look, you've also got done it in 3 areas, so it helps to draw the eye around the page. So that's cool. Like that. So I'll put that away now. So what I'm going to do next, again, I'll just get that dried off, clear this up, and then when that's all done, I'll be right back. Okay, so everything's dry. I've positioned my page, which now fits nicely onto my Tim Holtz and Tonic stamp platform, and I've finally now gotten around to adding the washi tape tabs onto my magnets, because every time I use the stamp plate or the stamp platform, I hear you screaming at me through the screen about how easy it is to have little washi tape tabs on your magnets to help you remove them. So like I said, I'm going to be using the word friendship from the Journal Words 2 stamp set, which I've already positioned onto, well, I'll do it again. So I've positioned it on the page where I want it to go, which is going to be about there, just above that little fairy's head, so she's kind of like looking down at it. I can just position the stamp and then turn that round, grab the ink that I want. So I'm going to be using Black Soot, which is the archival distress. And I'm using the black because we have black in the images there, so it's not going to look out of place. We're not introducing a new colour altogether, it is already in there, so it's not going to look completely alien. So I'm just going to ink the word up, flip it over, and then just give it a push. And if it needs to go on again, just give it another ink. There we go. And I can take that off. Pull that to one side. Those washi tape tabs do make things a lot easier. And yes, I should have done it a long time ago. Okay, so we'll put the ink away. I need to let the archival ink have a few minutes to dry. So I will help it along using the heat gun. Just like that. And these are a nice size as well for these kind of sized art journal pages. You get a nice kind of focal word, with them being there's 7 on each one, so there's 14 words in total across the 2 sets. There's something to go at whenever you need one, I think. I've pretty much covered most of the decent words anyway. Okay, so the word friendship has now dried sufficiently for me to carry on working. So I now want to add a little bit of shadow, a little bit of grounding just down here, maybe a little bit just up here as well, maybe just a tad around here. So rather than use a water soluble pencil, which you can do to create this kind of effect, I'm going to use a charcoal pencil. So I've got a Derwent charcoal pencil. This is part of a kit where you get different darknesses or depths of darkness and shade. So this one's a medium, you get a dark one, you get a couple of dark ones actually, a couple of mediums, and there's also a light one, but there's also a white as well. No, white charcoal, go figure. And these are quite good if you're not particularly confident about adding shadows and things. You can just add a little bit underneath, and then with a cotton bud, if you have one, you can just add a little bit of a shadow. This is what they call a Fantasticks. It's a colouring tool brush point. This is from Tsukiniko, and it's just a kind of like a blending tool. So just to add a little bit of shadow. It's very soft. And you could, if you wanted to, just use your finger, but I find sometimes I can be a little bit too heavy-handed, and this just helps just to blend out really kind of subtly without it being too heavy. Just works quite well. And then I can just add a little bit of shadow around there. So just using the tip. Just blur and blend out just a small amount. Just kind of add a little bit of depth, a little tiny wee bit of dimension to it without going too heavy. And maybe just a little bit down here. Just extends that image a little bit more. Yeah, I think that works quite well. It's not too harsh. Sometimes when you use a watercolour, a water-soluble watercolour, it can be a little bit too harsh on it. But I kind of like that. And then just to finish off, just grab a pair of scissors and I'm just going to go around the edge, just trimming off the excess of that book text. There's not much to take off at that side, just a small tiny amount. And then of course we always have the opportunity just to add a border, a little decorative border all the way around. Let me see if this is going to work. Sometimes these pens don't, depending on the last time I actually used it. So this is a Faber-Castell Pitt pen and this is this small nib. And all I'm going to do is just to add a little wee border, a little doodle border just all the way around, just to kind of finish it off. Even stop talking, look. So that can't be a bad thing, can it? Just adds a nice little border all the way around without being too heavy. And then all I have to do now is just sign it and date it, and then I'm going to call this little mini art journal page done. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. So that's all from me for now. So all I need to do is to just pop that into my little journal, ready to play again another day. All from me. See you soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.